Welcome back. And now, Dr. Abdel, let's focus on the environmental impact of this war.
Well, the current war, as United States like to call it, Operation Fury, we can say that the environment is a silent casualty of this war. It's an environment warfare. Because we can see that damage to natural resources, especially natural gas and oil. We have air pollution due to strikes to buildings, factories, petrochemicals, all these sites. And as a result of sulfur and soot, we have seen the black rain in some parts of Iran. This will also increase the CO2 emissions. Methane emission, and this will accelerate the global climate change. All these strikes damage, whether direct damage to desalination plants affects water, because desalination is the main water source for the Gulf region. 100% of the people in the Gulf area depend on desalinated water.
Yes.
If we have a direct damage, like what happened to a couple of desalination plants.
So you mean that the water itself can get polluted?
Yeah, two things. We can have a direct hit, a direct attack to desalination plants. This will no longer be available, and it also can be polluted because the Gulf water is a small area. Chemicals, the war debris, and all these will affect the water,
the purity of the water.
Yeah, it will not be usable, and it will be costly if we would like to treat it. Yes. Also, we have a land and marine biodiversity pollution because of the oil spills and chemicals and different weapons used in the area. Already, the area is suffering from various scarce natural resources. Low arable land, scarcity of water. This will pose a lot of risks, and this will lead to various economic and social and health problems. We can see an increase in respiratory diseases and carcinogenic diseases, long-term effects. And by the way, many of the environmental impacts will not be immediate. It will have a long-term effect, and it also can affect the neighboring regions. Not only
do you think that Egypt itself can get affected, or we hope this will not happen?
It might be affected. We know the wind doesn't respect borders. For instance, if you have air pollution, and if the wind direction is coming from the Gulf towards the North Africa, it will definitely affect. So it doesn't affect us. The main area to be affected, the main natural resources, the main natural assets are the environmental resources in the Gulf region. But also neighboring regions can be affected. It all depends upon natural condition like weather and wind direction and so on. But in short, the real casualty which will suffer for long term and many generations are the natural resources.
So, sir, the only solution is that this war has to come to an end soon. If it goes on for more weeks, it will have a devastating effect.
Yes, I completely agree. Well, I think if the war continues for another 2 weeks maximum, we will have a global crisis much bigger than Corona times, or the.
On what level?
Because we'll have a shortage in supply chain on all commodities. If we receive these commodities, the prices will be very high because there is all the transportation areas, marine ones are blocked, whether from the Strait of Hormuz or Bab el-Mandeb. Energy prices are hiking. We have seen that it reached now Brent over 110. If another 2 weeks, now the countries began to take the supply from the reserves, the natural reserves which they have. If we block 20% of the LNG, if we block 20% of the crude oil, the world will suffer from a very severe shortage of crude oil and natural gas. This will affect all the marine, land, all means of transportation. The cost of insurance is getting very high. We already have seen that the prices of the fuel have been spiked all over the world. Natural gas, LNG prices doubled in Europe, because Europe is mainly dependent on the Qatari gas. Many of the Asian market, China, India, Japan, all this import about 80%.
So you believe that after 2 weeks?
After 2 weeks,
many countries will suffer from soaring prices, shortage of commodities.
Exactly, because also natural gas is the main supplier for nutrients for the food production, so agricultural production will be affected. It will be affected, it will be decreased, and finally the prices will be very high. Countries like Egypt, which import many of the agricultural products, will suffer. It will not be available in the market. It will, if you find it, it will be very high and very limited, very high prices and very limited. So I think within 2 weeks, maybe even within 2 weeks, we will not be able to find many parts of the world fuel to fuel our cars. We'll find, it can reach to this, because there is a shortage in production. We have other options. The Gulf countries are trying inland through Saudi Arabia, through Oman, but this will not compensate the shortage. It will compensate around 8% of the shortage. So we'll have around 10-12% of shortage.
This is in many countries or in the Gulf?
No, in all over the world, all over the world, because it's energy prices affecting all over the world, especially the importing countries. Europe depends mainly on natural gas coming from Qatar. Asian markets depending on the Gulf oil, India, China.
So you believe that it's a global crisis?
It's a global crisis.
Not only related to the Gulf area?
Yes, it will not. It's not only related to Gulf. Maybe a few countries like Russia are benefiting because Russia are using these circumstances to export its natural gas to Asian countries. But even Russia will suffer from higher prices of commodities and other things. So I think, like I told you, it's a matter of 2 weeks. After that, we will have a very high prices. Maybe it will reach 150. There will be a shortage of supply. Countries will have to take measures, like we already have taken some measures in Egypt to reduce transportation, electricity usage, and so on. Otherwise, we'll have factories to stop, no fuel to supply for our cars. It will be much bigger crisis than Corona times.
So, sir, also, if we talk about the military escalation and its effect on climate change and shift towards clean energy.
Yes, well, this is, here we have pros and cons. Of course, will affect and delay because all the money which have been devoted and all the investment for the clean energy and clean production with a low carbon emission and reducing CO2 emission and greenhouse gases. All this money have been shifted to military activities in the United States, Iran and the Gulf region. So this will slow a little bit the investment in green technologies. And at the same time, due to military operation, burning of factories and military weapons, all this accelerate CO2 emission and increase climate change globally. But on the long run, I think it's a lesson for countries, various countries, especially the Gulf region, in order to increase the deployment of renewable energies, especially decentralized plants and technologies, where every region can have its own production of renewable energy, whether from various...
And this is my question to you. So can we compensate all this by new sources of energy, like just said, renewable energy, wind energy, solar energy?
Well, renewable energy like solar, wind, in the time being cannot compensate, unfortunately, because we don't have the capacities. Building these technologies at an economic level, it takes time. So now the world is mainly dependent on fossil fuel. Renewable energy maybe provide around 20-25% of the from energy pie, but in the future I think this will speed up the deployment of renewable energy sources in order to have a self-satisfaction of renewable energy, of electricity from renewable energy sources.
Yes. So, sir, what are the possible future scenarios for the impact of this war on green economy and sustainable development?
Unfortunately, it have a very negative impacts on sustainable development and the shift towards green economy because of the cost of the war. We are speaking about 10 billions of US dollars, either from direct effects of man-made asset or natural resources, natural ecosystem. So the shift towards green investment will be delayed a little bit because all the money of big investors and big companies and big countries in the Gulf and the other areas are shifted towards military actions. But in the long run, I think this is a lesson for these countries that in order to have a very secure and sustainable future, you need to depend on green technologies and sustainable development. You don't need to harm your natural resources. You can expend more on renewable energy and green technologies. This will guarantee a sustainable future and a sustainable investment in the long run. So I think in the short run, we will have a delayed deployment of this investment. But on the long run, companies and countries realize that the future relies on investing in clean and sustainable technologies.
So, sir, to what extent can an oil spill or the pollution of water lead to long-term economic losses?
Yes, it can lead to various negative long economic losses because we are speaking about natural assets, natural resources. So oil itself is a natural asset. If it's spilled, this is a lost opportunity. But also it causes a lot of negative impacts, whether on marine or land. We are speaking about a small semi-locked Gulf area where the water circulation is very low. So if we have any oil spill, it will affect the marine resources, mangrove, coral reefs, different types of fish. So those can unfortunately die or suffer. As I told you also, most of the desalination plants are on the Gulf region. This will make the water unusable for desalination plants. And if used, that cost of treatment will be very high. And also oil spills on land.
And there is no source of water for the Gulf. They have no other source than desalination.
Yes, they depend almost 100%, all the Gulf countries, 100% for drinking water on desalinated. They have other sources, mainly underground water, but those are costly and limited, and salty. And it cannot compensate the 100% of drinking waters. But also oil spill on land, this will affect the land. We have a very limited land that is arable, so this will damage the terrestrial biodiversity, and it causes a lot of effect to underground water as well. So we have a very multiple negative impacts from the military operation that affects marine and terrestrial biodiversity. Those are the real wealth of nation. If you lose this, you will not be able to do any sustainable development.
Actually, now the world is facing a big problem by US President Donald Trump. He is warning that Iranian power plants will be targeted if Tehran failed to fully open the Strait of Hormuz to all shipping within 48 hours. And on the other hand, Revolutionary Guards retracted the earlier threats to desalination plants in the region, which are also crucial for providing water. So how do you read the scenario in the coming, actually, 24 hours?
Yeah, it's very difficult and complicated, unfortunately, and it doesn't seem there is a very wise decision from both sides because
they are both escalating.
Yeah, in fact, because in times of war you have to use all cards. But unfortunately, some of these cards affect the civilians and also sustainable development because the desalination, these like a civilian targets. Also different factories and especially not a military facility, was being about power plants, desalination facilities, touristic area and so on. So this will cause damage that is irreversible. It will take a very long time to reverse. We have seen that we have almost all air flight have been grounded, touristic tourism industry has been hit very hard.
Yes.
And desalination will affect the lives of around 100 million people living in the Gulf. I think with we have two forces. So we have a local pressure on internally in the United States and Israel and other parts of the world,
Yes.
because they
the
are
European
pressuring.
countries actually
Yes.
are against.
Yeah, they are pressuring because the costs are very high. You know, natural gas prices doubled for European, so they are asking and demanding to end the war soon. But also on the other hand, they feel that they haven't achieved the required mission. So we hope that with
diplomacy.
yeah, the wise diplomacy interfere and we reach to stop the war very soon. Otherwise, we'll face a very catastrophic crisis after maybe 2 weeks maximum.
And to what extent also European countries are affected by this war?
Yeah, European countries are much more affected because of the high prices. We have seen the natural gas prices doubled, increased compared to the same prices last year, which is very high, and this is will drive all the commodities in Europe to increase the prices, to spike, and I think they are pressuring to stop the war. And I hope they manage, because otherwise we face a very catastrophic.
Yes. I'd like to thank you, Dr. Mohamed Abdel, energy and environmental economic expert. Thank you, sir, for being with us.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
And also at the start of a world tour, Executive Director Fatih Birol said on Monday that the International Energy Agency is consulting with governments in Asia and Europe on the release of more stockpiled oil if necessary due to the Iran war. And we have this report before wrapping up our edition of the Breakfast Show. Thank you for watching.
The International Energy Agency is consulting with governments in Asia and Europe on the release of more stockpiled oil if necessary due to the Iran war.